The 2024 Philadelphia Eagles had their best season in franchise history. They won the NFC East with a 14-3 record before winning 3 straight playoff games en route to their second Super Bowl win in the last 8 years. A lot of their success from this past season was predicated on stellar moves made in the offseason, including some historic free agency acquisitions. With the 2025 free agency window rapidly approaching, I thought I'd go back and grade the Eagles for their moves in the offseason last year according to the production in the last season. So to qualify for today's list, we'll be focusing strictly on the players that the Eagles acquired for free agency who played on another team other than the Eagles in 2023. We will not be considering team extensions, as those are within the organization, and grading will be similar to a tier list, S tier obviously being the best of the tiers, and the letter grades sort of reflecting as they would on a report card. Moreover, I will also be including the grade of 0. This is sort of unique to the channel, and 0 essentially means that the player contributed continual negativity and has no future with the team. I have a separate video as well for the Steelers and their free agency moves in 2024 coming out soon. That'll be very similar to this one, so be on the lookout for that one in the link in the description. That being said, I've done enough rambling. Let's jump right into today's video. Zack Baun. Baun was originally a member of the New Orleans Saints before the Eagles signed him to a 1-year contract worth $3.5 million. Baun was mostly a special teams linebacker for the Saints and did not really contribute when he was on the field. He came to Philadelphia, and Baun switched positions to become an off-ball linebacker. He transitioned very well within this role. His impact was definitely felt as he became a cornerstone of this Eagles defense. Baun registered 151 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, an interception, and 4 pass deflections in just the regular season alone. Baun was a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, and a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in just his first year with the Eagles, and was a key contributor on a defense that ranked first in pass yards allowed and first in total yards in 2024. Baun was a major reason why this defense performed as well as it did, especially considering that they were 26 total in 2023. Baun's efforts were rewarded as he just signed a contract with the Eagles for 3 years worth $51 million, and only one grade here is deserved. It's an A+. Mekhi Becton. Becton was originally a member of the New York Jets before the Eagles signed him to a 1-year contract worth $2.75 million. Like Baun, Becton was given the opportunity to switch positions in the offseason, and he ended up doing so, making the switch from tackle to guard. And again, like Baun, the transition was very smooth for Becton. In 2024, he had just 2 accepted penalties and 15 regular season starts, which is down from 12 in 2023 with the Jets and 16 regular season starts. He also only allowed 5 sacks in 2024 with Philadelphia, again down from his 2023 number of sacks allowed with New York. While not perfect, Becton definitely improved in Stoutland's coaching system, and it showed as he said that playing in Philadelphia has rejuvenated his love for football, and this is the type of player that you want to make a deal with. This was another excellent signing for the Eagles. They took a shot on a player who was a former first-round pick. He played well in a new scheme, and didn't cost the Eagles a ton of money in the process. Now, Becton wasn't the perfect player, but I will give him a B+. Bryce Huff. Huff was also a member of the New York Jets before the Eagles signed him to a 3-year contract worth $51 million. He was essentially the replacement for Haason Reddick, a player that the Eagles traded to the Jets due to his age and demand for a more expensive contract. Now, Huff had a bad first year in Philadelphia, registering only 2.5 sacks, a forced fumble, and 13 tackles through 12 games. The play that I remember most from his time was on the field against the Falcons in Week 2, where he fell down trying to get past a blocking tight end. Yes, a blocking tight end, not just a 300-pound lineman, but a blocking tight end. After the Week 11 matchup against the Commanders, the Eagles were informed that Huff tore a ligament in his wrist that would ultimately require surgery, and he would miss the remainder of the regular season until his return in Week 18, where he played along with most of the Eagles' backups. Injured or not, Huff's production was especially lackluster, and this was relative to the massive contract that he signed in the offseason. and any time that the team improves as a result of limiting a certain player's snap counts, you know it's a bad situation, and that's exactly what happened to Bryce Huff. The good news is that Huff showed some improvement as the season went along, and he now has time to recover from his surgery in the offseason. He's also only 26 years old and early through his deal to the point where he can still figure it out. But I have to grade based off of the production relative to the value that he produced in his first year, and it wasn't really good. That's not something that I would pay $17 million for. This deserves an F. Devin White. White was originally a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before the Eagles signed him to a one-year contract worth $7.5 million. This was a good deal at the time because White had a good 2020 season with the Buccaneers, and the Eagles were looking to get him relatively cheaply and back to form. And it looked like the Eagles were seemingly going to do that as he had starting roles all throughout training camp before he was mysteriously benched before he was supposed to start in week 1. And White ultimately ended up never starting for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he didn't even play a snap as he was released on October 8th, 2024. He is currently a member of the Houston Texans, and although the Eagles spent a small amount of money relative to some of the other deals on this list, this was their most expensive prove-it deal, and it did not pay out well. This especially is true when you consider that Zach Bond was half the price and ended up being a much better value. So essentially the Eagles just threw nearly $8 million down the drain. No matter how you slice it, that's $8 million you can't get back, even if the price is small. And that grade is going to get a 0. CJ Gardner-Johnson. Gardner-Johnson, also known as CJGJ, was originally a member of the Detroit Lions before the Eagles signed him to a 3-year contract worth $33 million. CJGJ is a bit unique compared to the other free agent acquisitions on this list because he actually played with the Eagles prior to the 2024 season. He was on the 2022 team that made a run to the Super Bowl, and in that year, CJGJ led the league in interceptions with 6 as a defensive back, which is also his career high. He was a proven fit with the Eagles' defensive scheme, so it makes sense why they paid him so much in the 2024 offseason. Now, there were some concerns with CJGJ as he was coming off a torn pectoral injury, but those concerns were more than alleviated in 2024. He returned to his previous 22 form, and he tied his career high in interceptions, where he notched his first pick 6 as an Eagle against the Cowboys. CJGJ is not the perfect player by any means. He still has injury concerns and can sometimes struggle in coverage, but he more than makes up for that with his big playability, leadership, and moxie. He played a big role as the starting safety in the league's best defense, and it showed in his season statistics. This deserves an A-. And last but certainly not least, Saquon Barkley. Barkley was originally a member of the New York Giants before the Eagles signed him to a 3-year contract worth $37.75 million. Barkley was one of the biggest moves not just in free agency for the Eagles, but the NFL as a whole. Barkley had some injury concerns from his time in New York, including a torn ACL in 2020, and those injuries tend to be very damaging for running backs. However, Barkley came to Philadelphia and lit up the league, leading the league in rushing yards and becoming the 9th player to rush for over 2,000 yards ever. He won Offensive Player of the Year, made the Pro Bowl, and was a first-team All-Pro selection in just his first year with the Birds, and he was the center point of an Eagles offense that won the Super Bowl. Doesn't matter which way you slice it. This was a great season for both sides. Barkley's efforts were rewarded with a 2-year contract extension worth $41.2 million, making him the highest paid running back in the league. This was a phenomenal home run hit for the Eagles in free agency, and Barkley deserves every bit of cash thrown his way. This is an S-tier grade. That being said, we've made it to the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.